Imagine walking into a shop with one single pound note. Not a handful of coins, not a credit card, just one crisp white pound note. Now imagine walking out with enough groceries to feed your family for a week. A cinema ticket, a pint at the pub, fish and chips wrapped in newspaper. And you'd still have change left over. Impossible? Not in 1955. Today, that same pound barely buys you a chocolate bar. But 70 years ago, it held the power to transform lives. If you think prices are high now, wait until you see what Britain has lost. Some of these numbers will make you angry. Others will make you nostalgic. But all of them will change how you see money forever. If you enjoy discovering the Britain we grew up in, make sure to like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming. So let's step back to 1955 and find out, what could £1 really buy? Let's start where every family started. The weekly shop. Picture this. It's Saturday morning, 1955. You're walking down the high street past the greengrocer, the butcher, the baker. The air smells of fresh bread and coal smoke. You've got £1 in your pocket, and you're about to do something that would be impossible today. You step into the grocer's. The bell above the door chimes. Behind the counter, the shopkeeper smiles and asks what you need. You hand over your shopping list. And here's what you walk out with. A large loaf of bread, fresh, crusty, still warm, 5 pence. A pint of milk delivered to your door that morning in a glass bottle by the milkman, 3 pence. You could buy 7 pints for £1, a dozen eggs, straight from a local farm, 20 pence. A pound of bacon, thick cut and smoky, 25 pence. Butter, tea, sugar, a tin of jam, another 20 pence. A bag of potatoes that would last a week, 5 pence. You've spent about 60 pence. That's it. 60 pence for essentials that would feed a family of 4 for days. You've still got 40 pence left. What do you do with it? Keep watching, because it gets even more shocking. But before we talk about what else your pound could buy, let's address the question everyone's thinking. Were people poorer back then? Did they just earn less? Yes and no. The average weekly wage in 1955 was about $10 to $12. So £1 was roughly a tenth of what most people earned in a week. But here's the thing. That £1 went so much further that families could afford to live, save, and even enjoy themselves. Today, 1/10 of an average weekly wage is about $60. Try feeding a family, paying rent, and going to the cinema with that. Now back to your 40 pence. What could you do with it? It's Friday night. You've worked hard all week. Time to relax. So you and your sweetheart decide to go to the pictures. The cinema is packed. Everyone's talking about the latest film. Maybe it's James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, or Grace Kelly in To Catch a Thief. 2 tickets? 30 pence total. 15 pence each. You hand over the coins, and the usherette tears your tickets with a smile. You find your seats, the lights dim, and for the next 2 hours, you're transported to another world. But the night's not over. After the film, you head to the local pub. It's warm, smoky, buzzing with laughter. You order a pint of bitter. The barman pours it slowly, the foam rising to the top of the glass. How much? 9 pence. Wait, let me say that again. 9 pence for a pint of beer. With your £1, you could buy 11 pints. 11. Try doing that today. And if you're hungry, the chip shop's just around the corner. The smell hits you before you even open the door. Hot oil, vinegar, salt. A hearty portion of fish and chips wrapped in yesterday's newspaper to keep it warm. 10 pence. So let's add it up. 2 cinema tickets, 30 pence. 2 pints, 18 pence. Fish and chips, 10 pence. Total, 58 pence. You've had a full night out, entertainment, drinks, food, and you've still got 42 pence left in your pocket. Does that sound like a fantasy? To modern Britain, it is. But in 1955, it was just Friday night. Now, here's where things get truly unbelievable. Let's talk about the biggest expense in anyone's life: housing. In 1955, the average rent for a small terraced house in many parts of Britain was about £1 per week, sometimes less. I'll pause and let that sink in. £1 per week for an entire house. Imagine that. Your weekly housing cost covered by a single note. Today, that same house might cost you $150 a week or more. Back then, families could afford a roof over their heads and still have money left for everything else. But of course, you needed to keep that house warm. Winters were harsh, and central heating was a luxury few could afford. Most homes relied on coal fires. A large bag of coal cost about 50 pence. So your 1 pound? That kept your family warm for 2 weeks. Picture it. A cold January evening, the fire crackling in the grate. The family gathered around, playing cards, listening to the wireless. The cost? A fraction of what people spend today on heating bills that seem to rise every month. But you couldn't stay home all the time. You had to get to work, visit family, explore. So how far could your pound take you? Literally. Public transport was the backbone of Britain. The iconic red double-decker buses were everywhere. A short bus journey across town might cost you a penny or two. That's right, a penny. With 1 pound, you could make dozens of trips. Maybe 50 or more depending on where you lived. And if you had a car, petrol was about 4 shillings and 6 pence per gallon. That's roughly 22 pence in decimal money. So 1 pound bought you over 4 gallons. Enough to drive from London to Manchester and back with petrol to spare. Today, 1 pound buys you less than a liter. You couldn't even drive across town. But life wasn't just about survival. People wanted joy, too. And your pound could still stretch to the little luxuries that made life worth living. Fancy a new book? Woolworths sold paperback novels for about 12 pence. You could buy 8 books for 1 pound. Build yourself a small library. Want the latest record? Rock and roll was taking over. Bill Haley, Elvis Presley, Buddy Holly. A vinyl single cost about 25 pence. 4 records for 1 pound. Imagine filling your home with music for the price of a coffee today. And for those who smoked, and many did, a packet of 20 cigarettes was about 18 pence. Not that we'd recommend it now, but it shows how affordable even small indulgences were. A trip to the barber? 10 pence for a haircut and a shave. The kind of old-fashioned service that made you feel like a gentleman. A newspaper? A penny or two. You could read the news every single day for a month and still not spend a pound. Your pound wasn't just currency, it was freedom. The freedom to work, to rest, to enjoy, and to plan for tomorrow. Now, before you start thinking Britain in 1955 was paradise, let's be honest. Life wasn't easy. Wages were lower. Work was often hard, physical, and unforgiving. Not everyone had a car, or even a telephone. Rationing had only just ended. The war was still fresh in people's memories. But here's what's undeniable. The cost of living felt fair. A day's work meant you could feed your family, keep a roof overhead, and maybe, just maybe, save a little for the future. Compare that to today. Many people work full-time and still struggle to pay rent. Groceries feel like a luxury. A night out requires careful budgeting. The pound in your pocket feels lighter every year. So what happened? Inflation, of course. But it's more than that. It's a shift in how we value work, time, and money. The pound of 1955 represented security. The pound of today? It barely represents survival. They say money can't buy happiness. But in 1955, 1 pound could buy a week's worth of security, comfort, and joy. It could buy a family their dignity. So tell me, if you could go back to 1955 with 1 pound in your pocket, what would you buy first? The groceries? The cinema tickets? Or maybe just the peace of mind that came with knowing your money actually meant something? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this video reminded you of a Britain that once was, share it with someone who remembers too. Like and subscribe for more journeys into the past. Because sometimes, looking back is the only way to see how far we've come, or how much we've lost.